foodies for black girl nerds.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Is it pronounced Alisa? I just want to make
Yes,
sure
it
I got it
is. Alisa.
right. Okay. Alisa, I am so happy to talk to you because I really loved this docuseries.
Thank you.
I
I'm
learned
smiling from ear to ear. I just can't. I'm so happy.
I learned so much from it. And I thought I knew everything about food because I'm a foodie, but
Yes.
I loved how it was educational, filled with a lot of entertainment. It was filled with just infotainment. And when
Mm-hmm.
I think of soul food, I think of culture, community,
Mm-hmm.
history.
Mm-hmm.
For you and your personal experience as a chef, what is it about soul food that makes it more than just the food itself?
Um, what does soul food what answer that? I'm so sorry. I kind of
Oh, that's
blanked out.
okay. What is it about soul food? Because like I said, I think of like culture, community, and
Mm-hmm.
history when I think of soul food. So for you, do you think of those things, or what are some things that you think of when you hear soul food outside of the actual food itself?
I think about compassion, and I think about love, and I think about when when this food was created, it was created to not only for survival, but it created a safe space for an expression of love to the people that you loved. You know what I mean? Being in a space where your backs are against the walls and this is what you have. And to be so creative that you made something, these dishes that lasted this long, that have now invoked love so much so that there's no word to contain it, or that you have to call it soul, because
Yeah.
it is something that invokes emotion. And I feel that you can feel that compassion, you can feel that survival story, but you can feel the love every time you eat it. Somebody had love in their heart and not hate in their heart when they made these foods. You see what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel when my approach to it. I mean, the journey started because that was my question. What is this food? Why is it called soul food? What did they mean by that? Why isn't it called, I don't know, black food? I didn't know. And so you couldn't have a word for it. And that's what I'm finding out. There is no word that's great enough for it.
And that's what I really enjoyed about this series is that, for me, prior to watching Searching for Soul Food, I thought of soul food as a monolith. And you
Mm-hmm.
really expand the definitions and really what soul food means to so many different groups of people.
Yeah.
Um, because based on Southern type of cuisines, this show really showcases like a diverse selections of foods from different regions.
Mm-hmm.
What compelled you to want to explore other cultures and these other dishes with this project? Because of course we always think of the South when we think of soul
Yeah.
food.
Well, I definitely, as an American Black woman, wanted to be able to dive in the cultures um, through the lens of that, an American Black girl who's rooted in soul food, right? So soul food is our story, basically, in a bite. I wanted to find out if cultures around the world had that same bite. Do they have these similar stories? And once you start digging in there, the stories are similar, but not only that, the food starts to connect us all, no matter what side of history you're on. The chakalaka in South Africa, it's something that the whole country eats. It's a condiment, but it's Dutch, it's French, it's Malays, it's African. Some of these things, because of history, the food kind of combined, and then they end up later on in life or later on in time being this thing that can be celebrated by everyone. And that's what soul food is. It's like our journey, our, because it's funny. We didn't continue making different dishes as we got freer, if you will. The basis of our food became from the hardest time, and that's held us together this entire time through that love, that basically, that survival, that struggle meals that has sustained of people to 2023. So
Right.
that's beautiful, to me.
And you illustrated that beautifully in this series by really showcasing all of these different cultures and these
Mm-hmm.
groups of people and how much they love to create the foods within their communities.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the series dives into the different origins
Yeah.
of these various foods, and it gives us a history lesson of
Mm-hmm.
what soul food means to each respective community. And one thing that stood out to me was the part where the Native Americans, that segment with the indigenous communities,
Yeah.
how they play a role in soul food cooking, which honestly, I never really associated, and pardon my ignorance here, I never associated, indigenous communities with soul food cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So was that something that you learned through the process of cultivating this series and exploring these different cultures?
Well, that's the great thing about this series. It's about discovering, and I want the audience to discover just like me. I don't want to go in and be like, I know everything about this. I want to be surprised and I want to dig in. So, yes, I was a little bit selfish because I found out I had Choctaw roots. So, of course, I wanted to go to where the Choctaw people were and kind of find out what's this connection because, Black people are told all the time, oh, you have indigenous roots or you have, when I got there and we started to dive in and I found out, things like hot water cornbread and hush puppies, it blew my mind. And that was like so great on film because I was honestly blown away right there with everybody else is going to be blown away because my mom still makes hot water cornbread, but she makes it with corn that was taken from the natives and they got this and we got this. It's crazy. And
And
so
what's
that was really, really wild. And also the pictures are my actual family. All those pictures are my family. So when you see people looking like Native Americans, it was me taking pictures, looking at my family and going, calling my mom and be like, what are we? What is this? Who are we? What is this? And starting to dig in. And she's like, oh, the Indian man, that's your great. Nobody knows. It's not written down. Like this is real. We have 40 acres and a mule. Like, and she said the mule died, but whatever. Like we had these things and a lot of people don't even know that, because the reason why we got our 40 acres is because my great, great, great grandfather was Native American.
It boggles my mind that we, to this day, and we actually get to see it in your docuseries, that we don't see enough Native American indigenous restaurants. Like every other ethnic group has their own restaurants. We see the Asian community has restaurants. Yeah. There's African restaurants, there's Mexican restaurants, but you don't see Native American restaurants.
And when you ask somebody, their head explodes because they're like, wait a minute, how can I be American and not even question it or even think there should be some? Everybody was guilty on that one. I was like, do you know? And it was just like, oh, because they were, oh, got it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully this docuseries will create a new trend where we see representation there.
Awesome.
You've visited so many different spots from different places in the world. Do you have a favorite soul food region or an episode that you covered while doing the series?
I believe I'm going to take the diplomatic answer. They were all very, very special, and they were. And they all stood out in their own different way. So I could go down the line and say what those were, but we don't have enough time. But I would say Peru for the Pachamanca has been going on for 8,000 years. That was mind-blowing, and still going. And also just the story of Jamaica and the jerk. People don't even know that the Jamaicans fought off the British at all, let alone made a seasoning that might be in your cabinet from it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This show is so informative. You get a history lesson, but then you're entertained, and then you get to learn all different new foods and new recipes to try. So, Alisa, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Black Girl Nerds. I really, truly appreciate it. I can't wait for everybody else to see it. And this was just absolutely fun to watch. And I'm glad that I watch this on a full stomach.
Yay.
This show will make you hungry.
And I just want everybody to tune in June 2nd, because you got to be there to watch it, to be hungry, have snacks. You know, Onyx Collective, Hulu, everyone around us is so excited about this show, and I am too. So I'm ready to go on the journey with everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. You take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.